16th, 2010 Parish Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Will you please stand while LaSalle Williams says the pledge and invocation?
Dear Lord, again, we thank Thee for allowing us to see another blessed day. We ask that blessing upon this board and this staff, and we ask the blessing upon those who come seeking some solution to a problem. And this we offer this day, our prayer. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Coach. Roll call, please, Christy.
Chair John Duhan.
Here.
Vice Chair Harold Doucette is absent. Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
Mr. Jake Porsche.
Here.
Mr. David Connor.
Here.
Mr. Ray Taylor.
Here.
Mr. Whit Baker.
Here.
Mr. Gary Navarre.
Here.
Miss Betty Brown.
Here.
Miss Latricia Cobb.
Here.
And Mr. Elijah Gilray.
Here.
Thank you. This is an 11-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone here at the corner and state your name and address and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicant need to fill out a blue card in the back. Request to appear. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there's a large group wanting to speak on any one agenda item. In general, speakers other than the applicant will be allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak. After the discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. All zoning exceptions and variance cases are final tonight. The rezoning case will go before the police jury for final action on Thursday, November the 18th, 2010 at 5:30 p.m. in this same room. This meeting is being taped by Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesdays and Thursdays following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website www.cppj.net. Channel 5 in Lake Charles and Sulphur will cover it. Channel 61 in Moss Bluff, Westlake, Benton, and DeQuincy. Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. At this time, if you would, please turn off all cell phones, pagers, any other noisemakers. Thank you. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of September 21st, 2010.
So moved.
Second. A motion from Mr. Navarre and a second from Mr. Gilray. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Approved. Next is to take appropriate action on case EX 04-028-10, a request by Anthony LeBlanc for a zoning exception to allow a bar pit, 0.34 acres at 5648 Carlos Drive in Ward 4.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, I just need to clarify that that motion was for September and October's minutes, not just September's.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. We'll put that in there.
Okay.
So we approve both months, guys. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wallace.
I'm sorry, I don't have a microphone, so if y'all can't hear me, just let me know. But this property is located in Carlos, and it encompasses just under 5 acres. It's zone A1 agricultural, and the petitioner would like to have a borrow pit there that's just over 1/4 of an acre. 50% of the dirt is going to be removed from the property. The other 50% will stay on site. And then once the borrow pit is complete, the petitioner plans to use it as a personal use pond. The staff does recommend that the request be granted with the normal stipulations, and I'd like to read those for the record. That the extraction and hauling be performed from daylight to dusk only. That the extraction is performed in accordance with the site plan on file. That the contractor take necessary steps to maintain dust control and prevent spillage on any public road. That the contractor shall not haul during inclement weather. That the developer will obtain a local development permit prior to hauling. That the exception will be subject to any requirements of the police jury regarding weight limits on affected parish roads. That the pond not be backfilled. That the development adhere to stormwater plan that would be submitted prior to the permit issuance. That notice of intent for application for a Louisiana Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit through the Department of Environmental Quality must be submitted to our office prior to development permit issuance. and upon issuance of the permit, the exception is for 2 years or when excavation is complete, whichever occurs first.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wallace. Any questions or comments?
Motion for approval.
I got a motion from Mr. Navarro, second from Mrs. Cobb. All in favor state aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is to take appropriate action on case EX 03-029-10, a request by Sugandhi Development and Enterprises for a zoning exception to allow commercial development, a contractor's office at 2413 Glen Prairie Road in Ward 3. Ms. Wallace?
Our legal counsel has resolved my technical difficulties. Thank you, Mr. Smith. This property is located south of Lake Charles and encompasses 0.66 acres of R2 mixed residential zone property. The petitioner recently began construction of a 30-foot by 60-foot accessory building behind the manufactured home that he resides in, and he began this construction without the proper permits. If he's allowed to complete this construction, he intends to operate his part-time contractor business out of the building, and he also intends to store some of his equipment, including his trailer that he uses to travel to other sites with. He is legally operating as a home occupation right now. The biggest issue is that he's now going to extend it outside of the house. He does agree that if he receives approval tonight, there will be no on-site customers, and that all the storage would be enclosed. The staff actually recommends that this request be denied. Should the board grant the request, there are a number of stipulations that we would like the board to consider, and those include that the development should adhere to the site plan on file, that a state of Louisiana licensed architect or engineer approved building plans to be submitted to our office within 10 days of zoning approval, that a Louisiana State Fire Marshal approval letter and a copy of the Fire Marshal stamp plans be submitted, that there be no outdoor storage of equipment, including that work trailer, that there shall be no on-site customers, and that the business is non-transferable.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Is there someone here representing Sugandhi Development? Anyone? Would you please step to the mic, state your name and address, because I believe we're going to have a few questions.
My name is David Sugandhi. I live in 2413 Glen Prairie, Lake Charles, 70605.
You want to start off, Mr. Sugandhi, and tell us basically what you plan to do at that location?
Well, I'm building a shed, like a storage for my business.
Any questions or comments?
We understand that you're planning on operating the business in addition to storage, actual business operations within the building too?
Well, I'm living in there, so I'm going to storage all my equipment in there on the bottom part of the thing. But, you know, I usually do it like on the weekend, but I don't do it like at a big part-time job, so things like that.
I don't believe that the petitioner will be actually constructing anything on site. I think that the upper floor, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but the upper floor would be for office space.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
Operation of the business out of that building.
Yeah, and then, I'm going to be staying in there probably, or I'm moving the mobile home eventually.
Mr. Navarre?
Mr. Sugandhi, you've been doing business from that location already?
Yes, sir.
On the jobs that you've had, you didn't get permits for them?
Well, I didn't have time because I'm a school teacher. I work on, on the everyday things, but, no.
So all the other jobs that you've done,
Yes.
you've never gotten a permit for?
No, I have gotten the permit, yes.
Yet you don't get a permit for your own,
Not yet, no.
but you're halfway through with it.
Oh, no, it's not even halfway through it.
Okay, good.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Anything you'd like to add, Mr. Sugandhi? Okay. All right, I need a motion. I got a motion from Mrs. Brown.
Second.
A second from Mr. Baker. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Can we clarify, we're motion to deny? We're taking staff
Approve.
recommendation?
Oh,
Motion to approve
Motion to approve.
his request.
Yes.
Okay.
A yes vote means it stays there, no vote means it doesn't.
And if it's approved, is that with the staff recommendations on the stipulations?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure they intended to include that, yeah. I'm sorry, Christie, go ahead.
Mr. Duhon, so there won't be a tie vote. Do you want to vote, or do you want?
I'll
to
withdraw, so there will be no tie vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if we vote no, what about his present operation? Would he still be able to operate like he's doing? He's asking for an extension.
He could still do a home occupation. He just couldn't store equipment there or move out of his home to do his office work.
Thank you.
Now, if the request is denied, you all may want to consider a time frame for him to remove the structure. I'm not sure if that could be done after.
Be a separate motion.
Should we do that separate motion now, or?
No.
Okay, let's vote on it, and then we'll, if it,
Has there been any other residents in the area or neighbors contacted or have any problem with this? I mean, have we?
Well, we posted a sign out there over 2 weeks ago.
Excuse me, I was by there yesterday and the sign's not up. The sign's in the ditch.
It was posted. It was also legally advertised in the newspaper.
yes, Mr.
Do I
Connor?
understand, I guess, I would like to hear about the, what has been put there so far. If we were to allow this to go forward, the construction that is already there may not ever meet code, might never pass inspections, may not ever get utilities and those type of things. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's there on site now?
So you're asking, I guess I need to clarify your question.
Go ahead.
Are you asking if it's approved, how we would proceed to bring it up to code?
Right. Can it be brought up to code, or have y'all inspected it all to know whether it can be or maybe wouldn't be able to be brought up to code?
I personally haven't inspected it, but that is why we included those stipulations that the state fire marshal would have to submit plans and that the architect or engineer would have to sign off on some building plans. I believe that
It's
Mr.
very
Rickard
possible
might
that
have
we
some
could
information.
approve this to stay, and it may never, without actually tearing this thing down, may never meet code or meet requirements to ever get proper permits. So I don't, I want to make sure we take that into consideration as we're looking at this issue. So
Well, I think, if I hear Mr. Sagandi right, is that basically is that the mobile home, once the building was complete, let's just say, I mean, he's gonna have to build it to code. There's no question about that if y'all decide to approve it. And he would have to, and he might have to go in and change some things, but it's gonna have to be built to code. He's a commercial contractor, so he certainly, and he's licensed, so he knows what he's got to do. Now, why he can get the permit, I don't know that. But, I mean, it can be done. Anything can be done in terms of something that is up there, but it may be costly for him to do so, to get it up to code. And, that's something that.
So it's a question of the feasibility of bringing this particular structure up to code, whether we approve it or not, or if we do approve it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Ms.
if we
Brown.
were to approve it with stipulations, how would we bring that in? That would,
Well, it's already part of the, it's already part of
It'll be his
our
burden to-
recommendation.
Question?
I do have a question. You had said something about moving the trailer off. Do you plan on living in this structure also?
Well, because I know that in that area it's an R2 mixed residential.
Right.
So I mean, I can stay in there as long as, whatever. I mean, they told me that I can put mobile home in there. I mean, and then also I can put a house in there if I wanted to. I mean, but I'm living in there in the mobile home right now. But I mean, eventually, I will move that mobile home, somewhere else because it doesn't look nice. I mean, to the neighborhood. I mean, I don't know if they, because I mean, my shop is bigger than mobile home, and then also I'm, that's too big for an office job for me. But
Yeah, I guess that was my question. I mean, you talked about having just an office in there, like a home office, but it is a pretty big structure. I wasn't sure if you were planning on that being also your residence with just a home office
yeah,
type setup?
It's gonna be. I mean, it's a possibility for me to live in there, and also I'm gonna work, from my house.
Let me clarify something. If it is defeated tonight or voted down, and he moves that mobile home off, he's allowed to live in that building as a residence and operate a business inside his residence?
But keep in mind that the building, he'd have to have the proper permits,
Right, he'd have,
and it would have to meet code and go
if he
through all
brought it up
the
to code
process.
and permits,
Yes.
then he could.
And so he could move that manufactured home off, move his residence into the new structure, and operate as a home occupation. But he wouldn't be able to store equipment there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments before we
Do you
got a motion on the
understand
floor?
stipulations, Mrs.
I mean, I read some of the stipulation, but I'm not quite understand some of the stipulation. Like such as I cannot store my equipment there. I mean, I've seen my neighbor. They put all the equipment, their work trailer, they put their tractors, they put everything else around my neighborhood. I mean, why I can't? I mean, I can't store all my equipment because I'm living in there. I mean, if you look around the neighborhood, and some of them they're doing business, and out of that area, and my neighbor don't have no complaint. I already talked to my neighbor. I mean, that's fine with me.
Yes, Ms. Wallace?
I believe the stipulation that's in question calls for no outdoor storage of equipment. If there's other issues in the neighborhood, we'd be happy to address those. We have to know about it to go out and take a look. But there might be cases where it's personal use equipment, and there's nothing that we could do about that. But if people are working out of their homes and they don't have the appropriate licenses and things like that, we can take care of that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. If that's all the discussion, we'll have a roll call vote.
Ms. Brown?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Porsche?
No.
Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
No.
Mr. Connor?
No.
Mr. Navarre?
No.
And Mr. Gilreay?
Yes.
3 for and 6 against.
Mr. Sagandi, the motion fails, which means at this point, unless someone makes a motion that you remove the building, the only alternative you have is to move the trailer, bring it up to code, move in the building, and then you can operate within the building itself. You can't store stuff in the yard or anything like that. Any other questions or comments?
What kind of timeline does he have to move the manufacturing?
I guess they set a timeline.
I would actually prefer if the board went ahead
Oh, I
and set
mean,
a timeline.
excuse me.
I would say that we would suggest,
Is that what the structure looks like at this moment in time?
Yeah.
It's going to be a while before he finishes that
right,
to live in.
and the issue is that he couldn't have, we would consider that to be 2 dwellings on 1 lot, so that brings up another zoning issue, so he would have to move that manufactured home off there pretty quickly and then find an
does it-
alternative means
Does
of
it
housing.
become 2 dwellings on 1 lot before it's finished or after it's finished?
At the time of permitting for that second structure, we would say it's 2 dwellings. So,
Mr. Sagani, the question is, that we're discussing is that if you do choose to move the mobile home and move in the building, what kind of timeline are you looking at that you can do that? Because somebody here might make a suggestion as to when you need to do that or have to do that.
If I'm doing it by myself with my nephew, okay, give me 6 months. I think I can pull it off. Okay, but I mean, I don't know what kind of timeline y'all allow me, because I'm doing it by myself and my,
Yeah,
and
well,
my
that's-
nephew.
You're right. That's the question the board will have to answer here. Yes, Mr.
I have
Connor?
a concern with leaving this open to the possibility of you being able to take and move into this thing. There's some strict guidelines that you've got to follow, and we see some things in this stipulations that we don't normally see in these cases. Right. So you're going to have to meet some requirements. And are we just, by allowing you to go forward with this, putting you in a situation where you're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of money that one day you may never be building a building you may never be able to occupy? So by leaving this open to the possibility, we're allowing you to put yourself at risk. you have stated here that there's some things you don't understand about this. And I think probably we're leaving you open to some cost and some time here that I don't know that it's responsible for us to leave it open like this.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that the building has to come down within 90 days. Because if he's a contractor and he builds without a permit, we've had a problem with some other people in this parish doing, well, they're not from this parish, they're from another parish doing this. And he's a teacher, so he can't plead ignorance. You know, I just don't understand why the man started without a permit, knowing he has to have a permit. I'll make a motion that the building comes down within 90 days. Then he can, if he wants to redo something else, that's
Got a
fine.
motion by Mr. Navarre that the building come down within 90 days.
Second.
I got a second from Mr. Connor.
Was
You want-
my understanding that he tear the building down or move the trailer?
Well, the motion is that he tear the building down within 90 days, is the motion by Mr. Navarre.
We voted on was that he moved the trailer.
No.
No, we turned him down on his building.
We turned him down on his
Permit for the
motion
building.
to operate a
Zoning.
business there, is what our motion was. So I got a motion and a second to remove the building within 90 days. Let's do a roll call vote, and I'll abstain, being a,
Ms. Brown? No. Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Mr. Taylor?
No.
Mr. Porsche?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
No.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Navarre?
Yes.
And Mr. Gilry?
No.
Five for and 4 against.
passes 5-4. You got, what, 90 days to remove the building?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by remove the building?
It's got to come down.
Yeah, the building was there before. There's a foundation already there. They never told me to tear it down. And it-
Explain that it was there before you purchased the property?
Yes, sir. The bottom story, yes, it was a garage already in there.
A small part of it, yes, it's on the site plan.
He added on to the building?
Yes.
I guess he can leave what's existing.
So, Mr. Smith? We're passing the ball to you. The gentleman states that there was a partial building there and he's added on to it. And we've got a motion to tear it down within 90 days. Does that include the building that he purchased before, or is that just additions, or
I wonder
clarify?
what this 30 by 24 looks like. It could have been a garage. It could have been any number of legal structures. And that probably is why there would never anything to tear it down. I don't know whether that still exists as a freestanding part of this building, the 30 by 24. Is that part distinguishable, and you've just built around it?
Yes, sir. Added on, and then 2-story added on the top.
So you took the roof off of it and you added on?
I'd like to make a motion to delay this for 30 days so we can kind of straighten this out. And
That's the best motion I heard all night. Thank you, Ray.
I got a motion from Mr. Taylor, second from Mr. Cobb, Mrs. Cobb. Because of the misunderstanding, I'd give the recommendation the staff has 30 days to find out more information and bring it to
Now,
it.
where does that settle everything else that we already voted on?
I don't know. I guess,
That's just on the amendment, to tear it down.
No,
That's the only thing
amendment's
we're
already-
postponing.
well, the only thing we're postponing is
Both have been passed.
giving council time to give us an answer as to what Mr. Sugandi's got to do.
Mr. Chairman, before we go, I'm looking at an aerial photograph,
Yes, sir.
and it says it was made 03/029 of 10. That's March 29th. And the aerial photograph does not show any other building on the lot. It just shows the trailer, which would seem not to match what we're just being told here about an existing garage.
Yes. But I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's
Mr.
We
Smith,
can
there's
send
a
in a
slab
breakdown
back there. If you look real careful, there's a slab, is all that was there.
Excuse me?
You see the slab back there?
Yep.
That's all that was there was the slab,
Oh, I see it down there. Is that a slab that I'm
Yeah.
looking at?
right behind the house.
To the left side of the center.
I don't see it.
Back of the house.
There's a slab there.
Don't look like there wasn't no building there.
Yeah.
Shed in front, that is a building. Now, where his building exists in relationship to that building.
There's a slab on it.
That's just a slab. That ain't no building.
That's a that's not a slab, that's a building, y'all.
That's a building?
Look at the shed in front of it. See the shed in front of the trailer?
You're talking about the one in the back. You're talking about it way back on the property
Yeah,
line.
look in front of
No,
it.
we talking right next to the trailer. Right next to the trailer, just to the left of center.
That's an
You-
automobile.
No, in the back of it.
That's a building.
No, right behind the
I'm
house.
talking about it's touching the house, Don. It's almost touching the house.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
That's a slab.
I
There was
got
no
you.
building there.
I got you, you're right.
Mr. Duhon, let me make a recommendation that you all do delay any further decision on what he has to tear down. I think we ought to do an investigation. We'll send David Thibodeau back out there. He certainly will be able to discern whether this is new construction or not. We need to look and see whether he got permits for the existing building, if indeed there was an existing building. And I just think that we ought to address this as a body 30 days from now as to what you all will require of him about removal of this building.
Mr. Vickers?
Mr. Sagani, how,
Yes, sir.
how long have you owned this property?
About 3 years.
And that the existing building that was there,
Yes, sir.
that is near your
The mobile home.
residence there,
Yes.
was there
Was there.
already?
Yes, sir.
But it was just a slab
No, it was a slab, and there's a like a post
porch.
for the for the shed, for the garage. Or basically, that's where they put the car and the boat, things like that.
Okay. I've got, yes, Mr. Connor?
I'm not understanding, first of all, the motion, what that asks us to do. We've got two motions that have passed. The delay to do what? Then the idea of waiting 30 days, nothing's going to happen in 30 days because we've got 90 days. Can't he just come back in 30 days, get back on the agenda, and make a motion? We can change our mind then. I mean, this could be a new motion, but what action do we take now to delay the two motions that we'd have to undo them or amend them or something?
The problem I have, Mr. Connor, is whether or not, if this was indeed an existing garage, we'll call it that, I don't know whether we can make him tear it down if it still remains a freestanding, separate, identifiable building. And I think, you can erect a garage on your property. You don't have to have a permit for that. So I just don't want us to overstep our authority here, is what I'm thinking. And I'd like to have some information from somebody who can tell me whether that is indeed still a freestanding garage that has been there. Looking at this photo, there was something way on the back. Did that get moved up and put on the slab? I don't know the answer to those things, but I just hesitate to advise you all to go forward and make him tear down the thing in 90 days if, in fact, it's tear down only that portion that surrounds the existing building. But you're right about that. He's got 90 days, but...
What does the motion do? Does it just delay our action that we've taken tonight and
Yes.
push it back another 30 days? So if in 30 days it takes effect to then he's got another 90 days?
Yes.
If we take no other action?
Or unless you make it 60 days at that point.
Why can't we just let him come back in 30 days and we give him an
Ask for-
extra 30 days?
Well,
Simple
he can
enough.
come back in 30 days and ask for anything. He can ask for us to change our minds if the thing's not torn down.
Then
But
he's got to get another permit. He's got a year to do that. He's got to wait a year now.
In any event, we got a motion and a second to delay it for 30 days to give council and staff a chance to investigate further. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. So, Mr. Sagani, at this point, the staff will get back with you and talk to you. I assume they got your numbers and stuff, and tell you what their decision of what we're going to do, and we're going to meet again in 30 days to make some further, to clarify our decisions. Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda. Next is to advise that the police jury took the following action on October the 21st. The airboat was granted by us and upheld by the police jury. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regular scheduled planning and zoning board meeting will be held on Tuesday, December 14th, 2010, in the police jury meeting room at 5:30 p.m. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Motion second, adjournment.